I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, we're continuing with the build of the guitar. And today we're going to actually take the sprayed finish from out the can. And what we're going to do is flat it down, and then we're going to polish it to get it into a real nice shine, as you'd expect it to be. Well, it's not always as easy as you think either, so you just have to be a bit careful with all this little section. The thing is, that preparation is everything. If you don't prepare the thing properly, or you don't finish it properly, or you don't flat it properly, well, how can you expect to polish it properly? Well, you can't, because the underlying problem still exists. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I do. I've never really done one of these before. Neither have you. Have you? Yeah. Well, if you haven't, it's a good place to start, because my mistakes, if there are any, will help you when you get to this point, and then you won't follow what I did. But if I don't make any mistakes, I think I've been okay up to now. Yeah. Well then, you'll know what to do, won't you? Well, I'm actually going to do the body first, this piece here. And I'm going to put some paper on here. And the other things you need is some 2000 grit, I call it wet or dry, P2000, or 2500. You need, as I said, something on your table. You're going to need one of these, and I'll be cutting this down to about there, so I've got two separate ones. That helps. And you need a bit of time on your hands, and then we're going to have to move on to the second phase of this. Will be in this video, where this gets actually turned into the final shine, so to speak, with the special polishes that I've got. Yeah, which you're going to see. So what I'm going to do is prepare this now, and we'll get the camera in a bit closer, and I'll show you how we start, and then I'll get on with it. Well, as you can see it at the moment, we've got a bit of paper underneath. I've got a microfiber cloth, stopping this getting scratched around underneath, because that's the top. And the back, I'm going to do the back first. Yeah. So I'm just going to cut this down. What I wanted was a square cork from the flat bits, but I wanted a small one. So that's just been hacked off the end of there. Anybody could do it. So I can get down really closer into the little fine areas with the sandpaper. Yeah, well, we'll call it sandpaper. I also have a little bowl of water, because as the name implies with that, we'll call it sandpaper for now, I tend to call it wet or dry, because you can have it wet or you can have it dry. Take your pick, but you don't want too much wet on this, you just want a tiny little bit. So what you do is you just soak the paper for a while and then get going. Yeah, there's a trick with it, and that trick is you don't want to be pressing on too hard anywhere where there's an edge. That includes round here, because all those edges can be worn through really quickly. The flat is easier, but where the edges are, you've got to be so careful. Well, you've got to be careful with it all. This is the paper that I'm using. I don't know if you can see that. It says here, CC25 P2000 silicon carbide electro-coated waterproof abrasive paper, or wet and dry as they call it in England. Okay, well, hopefully you can see the body. There's the bowl of water. It just needs a light dip in it, not too much water. Here's my little cork piece for flatting down. As I said, be careful around these sharp parts. There's a very slight change in colour there, like I rubbed it through before. I'm not perfect, but it gives it that sort of aged look a little bit. So I'm just going to do this now, and you can watch for a while. what you have to be very careful of is overdoing this. You want it so it feels smooth, and I don't really think you want it any more than that. You can see the grain. Maybe you can see from there that the grain is beginning to show through slightly darker. It all feels very smooth, except maybe just a tiny little bit just there. All the rest feels really pretty good. I would say is this comes across to me almost like a thing called burnishing, which means you just sort of, I don't know, shining the thing up. You're getting rid of those rough bits, and trust me, you saw what I did. You don't really do much of it unless you've got these coats really thick. My coats on here are really very thin. I said that all along. I've got around the edges to do now, but it's going to be very, very light. If you do it too much, you'll just wear through the colour and the top coats and all the rest, and you'll be doing it again. So you need to be, honestly, very careful. You can see the gloss on it. Hopefully you can. Yeah. You see the gloss on it with virtually none or work. So it's not going to take forever to do this. And you see the same at the back here. It's pretty shiny by anybody's standards. And just feel as you go and get it smooth, because that is going to be the answer to a great finish. It won't be perfect from me, but it might be perfect from you. And if it's not perfect from you, well, it's probably still good enough for you, as this one is good enough for me. I think I couldn't have really done much better than this. Well then, I hope you saw just how little I took off. I took a very small amount of finish off. It's now silky smooth. I can feel that it's actually entirely smooth. And you'll feel that yourself as you go round this. You'll feel that it'll it literally goes like silk. I don't think I could go really much further, because it's a very thin coats that I put on overall. And that's one of the tricks with it. If you noticed on the last piece of section, I had those little dots there that had fallen from the spray can. I can still see them there, but they'll probably polish out. They were shiny. I had a tiny little drip up there, and I had a little bit of something going on up there. But I can't feel them now. I can just about see them, but I can't feel them. But I'm not going to spend any more time going any closer, because if I do, I'm going to start rubbing through into the underlayers. That's phase one. Of course, I've got the neck to do, and I'll probably do that after I've done this. So we're running through the procedures with this first. Now, once we've got it to this stage, you really want to get something that's like a specialised polish, if you can get it. If you can't get it, you could use a number of things. You could even use what they call T-cut off the car. And you can get the regular stuff, or you can get even coloured stuff, but I wouldn't use the coloured stuff on this. But I've got some other stuff I'm going to get out and let you have a look at. Just hold on. By the way, did you notice? You probably didn't. But that's how much, that one singular piece is how much I used for flattening the entire body. Okay, well, if we're at this point, we're ready to get this polish going. Now what I've got is I've got a couple of bits of polish here. It says here, Player's Kit, Instrument Polish. And I've got a number 1 and a number 2. Directions, read separate instructions. Who knows where them have gone? Open carefully. I believe you use the blue one first, number 2, and then you use the number 1, red one, second, and this is Guitar Scratch Remover by Eternashine, ETERNASHINE, guitarscratchremover.com. That's where I had them from. So now you know. It's actually very good for flatting down this stuff so you can get your final coat on it. And you don't have to put much of this one on, and you don't have to put much of that one on, but once you've done them all, you can come on to this Guitar Detail Mist Spray from the guitarscratchremover.com. By the way, I did buy these. They're not they're not something that's been given to me so I can talk about it. I've actually used them myself many times. So what I'm going to do is rub this blue one on. I'll probably do the back first, I think, and polish it off. Let you have a look at the surface, and then I'll put the red one on, polish it off and let you look at the surface, and then I'll do the guitar detail last. Yeah, so yeah, hold on. Now once again, you don't really want to be going berserk with this. Just enough, and I've got a very nice soft cloth, as you'll need, to go over it. And you can see that very quickly it starts to shine. Let me get the shine down where you can see it. Look, yeah, it starts to shine an awful lot. And remember, this is phase 2, not phase 1. So I'm going to go over it. I don't think I'll put all that on camera. I'm just going to go over it and do the level 2, and then I'll show you before I do the level 1, and we'll carry on. Now, as you can see, it's starting to get very shiny and very smooth as well, which is the important thing, really. So I'll just carry on with this, and I'll show you in a little while. Okay, you should see the shine on this now. It's far superior to where it was. Yeah, see that? Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it a totally glass finish. It never will be, really, because it was out of spray can, like I say, but it's awfully smooth and it's awfully shiny. And of course, when we move on to phase 2 in a second, when I've just done the edges, you'll see what I mean. You'll see why I'm not going berserk with this blue heavy one. Remember, you don't have to use that. You could just use T-cut or something. It's all pretty similar. But what we want to do is to move on to this Player's Kit Instrument Polish number 1. It's very, very fine, and it just rubs on, and you just rub it and rub it and rub it. Well, that's the easy way to do things. But if you want to make it a little bit easier to get this even shinier than where you might normally get it by hand, you know, there's only so much you can do. I haven't got a polisher, or have I? I was thinking about these polishers a little bit, and what they are is they're just like a rotary soft brush, aren't they? Yeah. So I've got my own. Let's have a look at this. You've seen how good them car finishes come up, haven't you? Yeah, well, they use something like this. Let's get this thing down. It's like a polishing cloth. Well, it's fetching it up even without doing anything. But if you was to put it on the end of a drill, which you can, I've never had this out, but yes, so all you have to do is to take these bits here. It's so easy, isn't it, really? And then you tighten that up, yeah? And then you put this on, which is what I'm going to do. If you're into this sort of thing, just tie it down like that. And now you've got this nigh on perfect cleaning or polishing base, just like them rotary ones, except yours is rotary this way. And my guess is that this is going to fetch up this body to an absolute incredible gloss. So I'm going to go and do that now, and well, you've seen me polishing. I'll put it on a very slow drill, by the way. I might give you an example. and then we'll be just going around very lightly with this other polish when I've rubbed it in. You can see how much I've put on. I just want to rub it lightly all over the body. Now I have a drill that goes very slow. You don't want to go too fast with the thing. You're only just lightly skimming. Okay, so I can guess you can see the sort of gloss on that now. It's pretty awesome actually. And it's probably the same with the front if you can see the gloss on that. It's pretty killer really, bearing in mind it's been done by hand with no special tools whatsoever. Really, nothing you couldn't do yourself. There's the odd blemish, and I could carry on polishing and polishing and polishing until I have it at a higher level than where it is. But to be honest, I don't really care for any more than that. I think it's as good as I'd ever need it to be. It's pretty cool. And that's after I put the polish on. You can see it's awesome, pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, I think it is. You might not, but it's good enough for me. It's probably good enough for you. And of course, if you want to go totally mad, you can get some of this Fender guitar polish and spray some of that on, because it's like a wax. Petroleum distilled. Well, trust me, it'll the entire series. And if you haven't watched them, look down below, because there is actually a playlist, so you can get it all of them, or you can get it individual ones, and each one is a bit like this one. It has its own focus, if you will. It's designed to help you. Oh, do I get things wrong? Well, I probably do. And is my finish good enough for you? Well, it might not be. It doesn't really matter. This one's mine. But if you take the procedures that I've done, you should end up with a pretty cool guitar. One that you probably wouldn't want to spend the money on by buying it from some company. Till next time, don't forget to stay safe, will you? Yeah, I'm sure you will, but yeah, don't mix with the madding crowds and stuff like that. Now get out of here.